Hello, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to the June 13th regular town council meeting. We'll start this off with a motion to adopt today's agenda. Councilor Curtis is on Zoom with us here tonight, and he makes the motion. Is there any additions or deletions? Yes.
Yes. So I'd like to add a closed session item addition, disclosure harmful to business interests of a third party.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. All those in favor of the agenda with the new addition? Carried. Thank you. Moving on, adoption of the minutes of our last meeting. Councilor Warwa makes the motion. Is there any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. First up, we have a couple of pieces of correspondence. So the first one is from our MP Shannon Stubbs. It's Dear Mayor McPhee and Council, the economic contributions from rural communities are integral to Canada's success. Rural areas are home to many key industries such as manufacturing, forestry, agriculture, and energy. Yet municipalities under 20,000 residents receive less support from the federal government in comparison to their much larger counterparts. Red tape duplications and certain applications requirements disproportionately burden small rural communities with very few staff. This is unfair, unjust, and needs to be addressed urgently. As such, Conservative Shadow Minister for Rural Economic Development and Rural Broadband Strategy, MP Shannon Stubbs, Deputy Shadow Minister, MP Damon Kirk, did I say that right? And MP Jacques Gordy are seeking to convey a town hall with you to address federal funding for rural communities. Rural Canadians must band together for fairer and more robust funding for communities all over rural Canada. It is integral to our economy that the federal government works for everyone, no matter where they live. The voices of rural Canadians need to be heard. We kindly ask you to express the three most important issues impacting your economic development as a rural community. We will use this feedback to ensure our work for rural Canada is as productive as possible and will determine the agenda for our proposed town hall. This is an opportunity to network, share your priorities and solutions to the challenges we face. And it's signed by MP Stubbs, MP Kirk, and MP Gordy. Okay, so I'll take a motion to receive and file. Thank you, Councillor Bullock. Is there any comments? Go ahead. Let's start up right here with Councillor Warwick.
So just because I obviously have some information on this, a lot of the initiatives and discussions that I've had with multiple MPs, but particular MP Kirk being our next one over to just in the Camrose area and here, they're hearing the exact same thing, that there's extra stress and downloading on municipalities. That's sort of been the theme of a few of the last rule motions that have happened, where they're suggesting not a way to look at division between rural and urban, but a recognition of the fact that even the cost impacts are different on rural, and that often even saying that something is fair and equitable, like saying it's based on a per capita basis, may not actually be fair and equitable when you think about the fact that in our areas it may actually cost more per person to provide a service or build a piece of infrastructure. So that's a little bit behind that. Communities will be responding back, and the likelihood is it would end up probably being Zoom to allow for the majority of people. That's all.
Okay, any other comments? So, Councillor Bullock, would maybe change your motion to receive and file and maybe take some time in our next ledge meeting and put together our three priorities and get them back to this committee, and we'll take it from there. Okay, make a new motion.
And we'll bring back three priorities.
Okay, so receive and file, and the action will be at our next ledge that will put the priorities that are important to this council, and we'll get them back to this committee. Is everybody good with that? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. The next piece of correspondence is from Mayor Craig Snodgrass of, where's he? High River, right? Yeah. we've seen this before, and they're asking about to ban any more coal mining along the eastern slopes. So I think last time, and I'm not gonna read it all through, because last time we've heard it from both sides. We heard it from other communities that wanted to have the coal mining, well, maybe not in this area, but this is exactly the same letter we had last time. If you want, I'll read it. The town of High River mayor and council is grateful for the ongoing support that they have received through the previously passed town of High River coal policy resolution. Whereas coal exploration and development will impact water resources for downstream communities, affecting businesses, residents, ranchers, farmers, and ecosystem. And whereas coal exploration and development is causing irreparable damage to landscapes and watersheds, as well as adversely affecting the public's access, use, and enjoyment of crown lands on the eastern slopes of Alberta. Be it resolved that council endorses the proposed policy titled A Coal Policy for Alberta 2022 and beyond, prepared by a grassroots coalition of Albertans, including policy experts, indigenous groups, conservationists, recreation groups, ranchers, and landlords. And that council directs administrations to send this document to other urban, rural, and First Nations municipalities throughout Alberta and Saskatchewan, asking them to endorse and sign on. Okay, so I'll take a motion to receive. Councillor Berry, would you like to speak on it?
Thank you, Your Worship. Although I definitely support most of the comments that are being made in here in terms of coal development along the east slopes, I'm not prepared at this time really to say that we should support the policy, because we haven't had the opportunity to actually go through the policy in detail ourselves. Knowing a little bit about it, there are still some areas in the policy that may be questionable, which I wouldn't support.
Can you tell us, with more coal mining activity on the eastern slopes, how would that affect residents of Vegreville?
The biggest concern for residents of Vegreville is as they go to the northern part of the east slopes, the North Saskatchewan River in particular, and some of the other drainages there, come out from areas that have coal mining in the past and have proposals in the future if they did decide to develop them. And we have to recognize that our water source actually is the North Saskatchewan River. We get it piped to our town and through the community. So directly, indirectly, we are still concerned about the water quality in the North Saskatchewan River and the North Saskatchewan drainage. So I think that that holds true for the vast areas of Alberta south of the Athabasca River, because even in the Athabasca River, there are coal developments. And coal developments notoriously contaminate river sources.
Okay, so we have a motion to receive and file, and maybe what we should do is wait before we either endorse or not this letter until we get a little more on what the policy actually is.
Yep.
Okay, is everybody good with that? Okay, all of those in favor? Carried, thank you. Next up, Director Sasky.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this is the topic of Public Library Operating Grant Program. So the proposal is to approve the Corporate Services Director as reviewer for purposes of submitting the Town of Vegreville Library Board Statement of Receipts and Disbursements. So the background on this, all municipal library system boards under the Libraries Act can apply for an operating grant with the Government of Alberta through the Public Library Operating Grant Program. The Town of Vegreville Library Board receives this funding operating grant annually. A requirement of the grant submission is that the statement of receipts and disbursements / financial review, they must be completed by a person or firm considered acceptable by municipal council. The town's auditors have completed a notice to reader engagement in the most recent years, a separate engagement from the Town of Vegreville audit. Note that the library financial data is included in the audit of the town as a whole, and that this notice to reader engagement provides no additional assurance on the town's financials. Since the Public Library Operating Grant Program does not require a review engagement in addition to the audit, council can appoint Corporate Services Director to complete this required step. So the financial implications would be that the town of Vegreville would forego the notice to reader engagement with Wild and Company. And communication strategy would be senior management will be informed and council resolution will be shared with the Public Library Operating Grant Program. So the recommendation is that administration recommends that council approve the Corporate Services Director as the reviewer for purposes of submitting the Town of Vegreville Library Board Statement of Receipts and Disbursements.
Okay, thank you. Looking for a motion on the recommendation. Counselor Lemko makes the motion. Any discussion? So nothing really is gonna change, it's just, okay. So no discussion, all those in favor? Carried, thank you. Next up, CAO Leggett.
So this one, the topic is the declaration of a civic holiday. And the proposal is to declare August 1st, 2022 a civic holiday in Vegreville. Background, Section 56 of the Municipal Government Act allows a council to declare up to 2 days in a year as civic holidays. The minimum length of a civic holiday is a half day. Financial implications are the cost of declaring that holiday, which has been budgeted for annually. Communication strategy would be notification of the civic holiday will be posted on both the town's website and social media pages. And the recommendation is that council declare August 1st, 2022 a civic holiday in the town of Vegreville.
Thank you. Motion on the recommendation. Counselor Berry makes the motion. Oh, sorry, Counselor Curtis. Do you have any comments?
Just trying to get my hand in another motion, that's all.
Okay. No, that's fine. I reckon the chair recognized you first, so that's the way I roll. Okay, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we're still with you, CAO Leggett.
Thank you again, Your Worship. So this one is to conclude the work on the council procedure bylaw. So the background on this, every 4 years, the council procedural bylaw is reviewed by the new council for their term. This review keeps the procedural bylaw current and relevant for each term. After holding a bylaw workshop on May the 12th, 2022, with council and the legislative coordinator, the collaborative recommended changes to bylaw 13-2019 were drafted and presented to council at the June 7th, 2022 legislative committee meeting. Council was in favor of the draft and requested it come forward for all 3 readings at this meeting. The communication strategy, the new bylaw will be placed on the town's website for public viewing, and the options available to council at this time are that, number 1, council can proceed with all 3 readings at this meeting. Number 2, council can proceed with first reading only, or number 3, council can refer back to administration for any additional changes that you might feel are warranted.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll take a motion on one of those options. Counselor Curtis.
I'm good with option 1. I think we did a really good job going through this and tighten some things up and ready to go.
Okay, then that being the case, we're gonna go with all 3 readings tonight. So I will take a motion for a first reading. Counselor Lemko, all those in favor? Carried. I already had a motion on the floor to go with option 1 I didn't vote on, sorry about that. We'll back up one. All those in favor of Counselor Curtis's motion to take option 1? Okay, now we'll go back to Counselor Lemko's motion for the first reading. All those in favor? Carried. Motion for second reading, Counselor Bullock, thank you very much. All those in favor? Carried. Motion for unanimous consent, Counselor Berry, look at that. All those in favor? Carried. And a motion for third, Counselor Warwawa makes a motion for third and final reading. All those in favor? Carried. I'd like to say that it was nice to putting this bylaw together with our new procedure and stuff, and look forward to moving forward with that same process as we move forward here, so. Thank you very much. Well, look at that, we're at council reports. So we're gonna start with Counselor Warwa.
Thank you, Worship. I had on May 26th a council tour, and I just want to say I think that even though I'd been to some of the actual locations before, it was really great to be able to go out and see them again. I think you forget some of the things and a lot of things I didn't know. So it certainly helps you appreciate the work that they do every day. May 31st I was at the first of the park's open spaces bylaw workshop. On the 31st, I was only able to attend a part of the EIPS meeting, but obviously appreciate being able to get together there. And on June 2nd, I was a judge at the public speaking at A.L. Horton, and just wanted to say what a good experience that was. There was grades 4, 5, and 6, and I got to judge the grade 5s. And I think that these kind of things are even more important since we've been through COVID, where people haven't been together, maybe not as comfortable speaking in public, but the kids were great. I have to say that I would never pick favorite grades officially, but boy, those grade 4s are gonna give people some run for their money because they were energetic and just awesome, and some of their topics were great. And they talked on all kinds of things from, personal issues like pets right up to, we had here a student in grades 4 to 6 talking about supporting Ukraine. So I think it was really wonderful to see. So that was wonderful. And then our legislative meeting on the 7th and tonight's council meeting. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and I think that maybe you might have picked up a few tips on public speaking.
Maybe.
Thank you very much. Next up, Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. So on May 26th, the administration of town gave me a birthday tour of all the facilities. The lagoon was particularly interesting at this time of the year. Also on the 26th, I attended the Corn Maze meeting as a volunteer, and we'll leave that one go for a while. On the 31st, we did our bylaw workshop, and it was very successful. On June the 4th, I attended the composite graduation ceremony on behalf of His Worship, who is out of province at meetings. And I thought it was a very good ceremony. It was particularly interesting to see all the students don their caps and get their diplomas, and quite a number of them I recognized from very, very young when I used to coach them in soccer. And now to see them in gowns and suits, it was quite interesting. On June the 6th, had Vermilion River Watershed Executive Meeting to plan for our annual general meeting that's coming up this week, and our strat plan that we'll be doing at that same time. On the 7th, the Ledge meeting. On the 8th, I attended with a few other councillors to I Picked Up the Pasanka video, which I'm soon will be out at some time soon. On the 8th, we had a bylaw workshop on another bylaw, which went quite well, and then our regular council meeting tonight.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lemko.
Thank you, Your Worship. May 26th, I as well attended the facilities tour with the rest of council, and I want to just thank senior leadership group for the tour and the insightful discussions on some of our infrastructure and what makes it tick. So it was very informative, and I really enjoyed it. The ribbon cutting at Valid the same day, and on the 26th as well, we had a corn maze meeting. May 30th, another meeting with the Vegreville area Stands with Ukraine. We continue to bring some displaced Ukrainians into the community, furnishing locations for them, providing with some financial assistance, and the committee continues to work strong at finding other places. One of the challenges they're having is employment with finding places for these Ukrainians to work. So you'll see something coming out soon and asking for some community to step and see what jobs are available. On the 31st, I attended the council bylaw discussion, the one that was approved tonight. Also the Elk Island Public School council supper meeting, which was a good meeting, and lots of dialogue shared both ways. On the afternoon, I attended the farewell coffee for Melvin at the Parks Department there, who's leaving us after a number of years of service. So I wish him the best in his future endeavors. June 1st to 6th, I attended the FCM conference in Regina. Fortunate enough to be there and see fellow councillor Janine Rudick elected as or acclaimed as the new president of FCM. And there's over 2,000 municipalities that represent the FCM from coast to coast to coast, and it's nice to see that one of our own is now carrying the torch as the president. Good for her. It was a great conference. June 7th, the Ledge meeting. The 8th, I also picked up the Pasanka video shoot. I have a sore shoulder right now, but we'll get over that. The 8th, I also attended the Parks and Open Spaces Bylaw Review meeting one. The 9th, the Minburn Foundation Board meeting. So a few of the highlights out of that is we're proceeding with the renovation of the last 2 rooms on the west wing. There, the one we're combining 2 rooms into one, which will add a shower and tub facilities, and those rooms are almost spoken for. The Homestead Lodge also hired a Ukrainian refugee as a casual to work there and show them how to properly make pierogies, I guess. I don't know. There's vacancies there. There's 15 rooms, although those rooms, it's kind of funny, there's a waiting list for some rooms, but there's a vacancy. And those rooms that are vacant are, there's 4 rooms with no tubs and no exterior windows, 6 rooms with no tubs and showers, and 3 are very small rooms with no showers. So it's time for us to talk about expansion, or not expansion, but in saying that, we're putting together possibly a needs assessment that's going to go forward to the government and see where that takes us. So stay tuned on that. Then June 10th, I had a meeting with MLA Homonyuk and the Immigration Society of Calgary and the Multicultural Association out of Fort Saskatchewan, and more discussion on the challenges that we're facing with the support that's needed for the Ukrainians and the challenges that they're facing. It's interesting that there's a number of families living in Calgary, a big city like that, and they feel so alone and isolated. So they're reaching out to us to see maybe they can come to Vegreville, where there's almost like family. So stay tuned for that in tonight's council meeting. That's my report, sir.
Thank you very much. Councilor Curtis.
Thank you. Started off on the 26th with the council tour, which for me was good because there's a few buildings and areas I hadn't been to yet. And getting to hear some of the struggles we have and what people are looking forward to in the future, and kind of help us with our plan going forward as the town is hopefully going to grow pretty well in the next little while. May 30th, we had a FCSS meeting, which we focused on talking about gossip and bullying, which went along pretty well when we had our Elk Island Public School meeting on the 31st, where I brought those concerns up directly to the board members there, and we had some good discussion. As well, May 31st, the Parks and Open Spaces Bylaw, June 7th, the Ledge meeting, and then tonight's council meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilor Bullock.
Thank you. Thank you. May 26th, as well, I was part of the council facility tour, so that was the first time for me, and that was real interesting to see some of the infrastructure that I haven't seen before, and the importance of it going forward, of what's going to need to require some attention going forward. So planning for that is going to be great. Also on May 26th, attended the Vegreville Corn Maze meeting as a volunteer. May 31st, also attended the farewell coffee for Melvin Hamlick, and wish him the best as well. And certainly he'll be missed, and I know he's got a good replacement in place as well. So May 31st, Parks and Open Spaces Bylaw Workshop. As well, May 31st, the Council EIPS Board meeting. June 7th, our Ledge meeting. June 8th, Cal's board meeting, where we welcomed a new vice chair, Amy Yakimitz. And June 8th as well, another Parks and Open Spaces Bylaw meeting. And then June 8th in the evening, capped it off with judging the lemonade recipes for Lemonade Day coming up this Saturday. So make sure everybody gets out for Lemonade Day and see all these young entrepreneurs and how good they do. And tonight's council meeting, and that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. So I too was on the council tour, and it was nice to see the faces of councilors never been to the lagoon before. It was a nice tour, and thank you, Dale, and your staff arranging to be odor-free that day. We did appreciate that. On the 27th, I attended St. Mary's grad ceremonies, and it was nice to have that room filled again at the social center, and caterers in the kitchen, and everybody back in dresses and full suits, and it was very nice. So I had a great time there. On the 30th, I attended the Vegreville Stands with Ukraine committee, and just amazing work that they're doing right now, and in such a short time, and how that committee's coming together. Very proud of them. On the 31st, we had, I stopped and had coffee at the Parks building with Melvin Hamelick. And, I remember when Melvin first started in Public Works, and he's been with the town a long time, but he was pretty excited for the next chapter in his life, and it was nice to see him take that, take that and go with it, because I know everybody wants to work for the town, but eventually you probably want to run a fishing camp, so. We had our bylaw workshop that day, and that evening, Elk Island Public School Board meeting, we had a nice supper meeting with them, and there's a couple of new board members we got to meet, and it was a very good conversation there. On June the 1st to the 6th, I flew to Regina to attend FCM with Councillor Lemko and his beautiful wife. We spent a few days together, and it was very nice to be there when Councillor Rudick received the pin, I guess, the ceremony. They transferred the pin, and I was up front and center whistling and hollering. They had to bring in security to slow me down, I guess. But more than that, just being at that, Councillor Lemko's first trip there, and it was nice to introduce him to different municipalities that I've met over the years, and having conversations, walking around, and how some of that stuff at the trade show would work here, and just seeing what other municipalities are doing. We really had a good time networking, and we might have had a couple of really nice meals too, I think. If we did, yeah. And then June the 7th, Ledge meeting, June the 8th, I was a part of the video on the new hashtag, I picked up the Pasanka, and hopefully that's taken off right now. June the 8th, we had a bylaw workshop. I also joined the contestants in the lemonade tasting. I was down, and I'm not a judge this year, but because I can't be there for Lemonade Day, but I was there to encourage the young people. And tonight before council's meeting, we had 2 groups in, and we signed a proclamation. Lemmy Lemonhead was in, and there'll be lots of pictures coming up on social media. So please, there'll be a map, so that'll be on our social media post and community features post soon with all the locations for Saturdays where all the stands will be, so try to support them. On June the 9th, I had a John Espitook Water Commission meeting, and tonight's council meeting, and I only forgot to write 6 of these things in here, so I may have to change my report. So I had many conversations today with Inca, and just moving forward what it looks like. Had a couple of conversations with Director Lefebvre today, and probably get tired of me bugging you, but I appreciate the information. And tapped on our CAO Laggett today for some more information. I made my rounds throughout the building, so that's what my last couple of weeks looked like. So I want to thank you all for what you do, and reporting back to the community, and trying to make a difference in all the committees that you're on. So that being said, that is the end of the business for today. Is there any other business of council? So we do have one item, and it's harmful for business interest of a third party. So I will take a motion to go into closed session. Councilor Barry makes the motion. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you all.